feel to really do this Lightworker service, we need to really let go of every bit of judgment we have about ourself and about what we think is happening. Because we really don't know ultimately the reason why everything is going on. And we can have beliefs about it and intuitions about it, and all that's really good. You can hear things from other people that they believe, but we don't ultimately really know why everything's happening that's happening. There's a purpose for all of this. And one thing we were talking about in that last meeting is that fire has a very sacred meaning. Fire is purifying. Fire is a power of creation. It's a power of transformation. It's the life force. It's called Agni in Sanskrit. It's this tremendous power, and it can be extremely destructive, as we're seeing. But it's also totally vital in bringing us from one stage of life into another. I feel like what I've been feeling is a combination of just a lot of real concern and care for what's going on in our state and the surrounding areas, and real compassion for these people who've been losing their homes, and some people have lost their life, and there's just been tremendous destruction going on right now as we have this call. And I read in the New York Times this morning that entire communities in Northern California and Oregon have been completely wiped off the map. They just don't even exist anymore. I mean, it's just really intense. In some places in Southern California too, and other areas. That's true, and another thing that's true is that there's this tremendous transformation going on which is needed on our planet. Things are breaking down the old way it's been. And we are expanding into this, what we could call the new earth, a whole new way of living, actually a whole new earth that is already here. It's not something that's an idealistic thing, the pie in the sky, or something in the future we're working toward. I really sense that this new earth is here, and many times I see it when I'm just walking. I just see the new earth around me. The best way to experience this new earth is through your own heart. So my recommendation for us right now, and for myself, is to put my full attention in that heart right now, into your own sacred heart. And so it helps often to put your hand over your heart, because again, we're physical people. The more you do to bring your attention there, that can be very, very helpful. And our ability to be a light worker and to serve as a light worker comes from the fact that we already are, in our truest essence, enlightened beings right now. We are already divine enlightened beings. And yet, there's so many things through our mental body and our emotional body that can keep pulling us, or denying that, or doubting that, or pulling us out from that, or having all kinds of dramas and so many fears. It takes a real power of continual choice to be in our sacred heart, rather than in that spun out part of us. And one thing that's really true is that when groups of people come together with that intention to be in the sacred heart and to be in that oneness, to be in which is, you could say another way to say, is the fifth dimension, the place where there's only oneness and that there's love, there is no duality. The fifth dimension is that experience. And we're totally accessible. That's not just some esoteric thing. It's very tangible right here, the fifth dimension, that sacred heart. It just takes the choice. And that choice comes from real love and forgiveness. Totally forgiving anything that seems to be other than that. And that to be in the heart. So that's what we can start with. Whatever way you're led to do that. I offer this to you just to say to yourself, in whatever way that you would want to say it, I am an enlightened divine being right now. And I choose to acknowledge it. So there's a transmission. There's some very practical tools to make what I'm saying more realistic or more tangible. One of them is that there's this transmission that is happening. It's always coming in from this very high level that in our physical sense would be above our heads, even though there's really no direction on that level. But on the third dimension, it can be said to be above our heads. So it's way, way above us, that highest God spark, highest God source. And it's streaming downward. That's often called the Antakarana bridge, streaming downward through the chakras that are above our head. 12th chakra, 11th, 10th, 9th, 8th. and then it comes in through the crown. And if you just relax and just don't try too hard, just open up to it, it's possible to just to subtly feel that, just coming down through the crown, through the center of the head, and down through the central column. And so having this group, we can create this sacred container where it's easier to feel this. So what I'm going to suggest is to do some invocation. Invocation is calling upon. So calling upon these divine essence powers to boost and amplify our light field is a really wonderful way to start this. Because there seems to be divine law. These divine beings show up when we ask them to show up. In one sense, you could say they're always here, running in the background. But when we call upon them, so the first thing is to be very clear on what are we calling upon. We're not calling upon just any random being, but really only those of the highest light that are in oneness with the intention of divine love and divine forgiveness and divine presence. So any being that fits that description, I am calling upon to fill this space of this group conference we're having right now. And some of them we have names for, like we can call them angels or archangels, ascended masters, divine feminine goddess, and all those attributes of the divine goddess energy. This divine masculine energy, the divine father, the one that Jesus was always talking about. There's the nature spirits, devas. And then there's probably trillions of them we don't have any names for. But we're making it very clear. In this circle, the ones we're calling on are those of the highest light, highest intent, purity, that are of divine love, of divine forgiveness, divine compassion, divine presence, here and now. Now I welcome anyone else that wants to do an invocation of that you'd like to call in, to also speak. Now I noticed, as I said each one of those names, angels, archangels, ascended masters, sort of like a more fullness came into, I could feel more fullness of love, of light coming into this, because it is amplifying. And then tune into love. Everyone knows how to tune into love, right? You just think about either people that you're very close with, your favorite animal, Mother Earth, Christ, whatever it is that brings on that access to love. Do that so that you're tuning into love. And just let go of any judgment you have about yourself, your experience, or what's going on in the world, or anybody else, because again, choosing love, all that will be taken care of. We'll be in the appropriate place in relation to all of that by choosing love. So just breathe that transmission of energy that's coming from your highest self through the central column. And the way that we often do it is breathing from above down through the crown, the center of the head, throat. And then when you finish filling up your breath in your heart and upper belly, just hold that breath there for a moment and just relax that area and just let yourself feel the enjoyment of that divine energy coming in. So you just intend to feel it, perceive it, not just visualize it or have it be an abstraction, but really to feel it and enjoy it. And then when you're ready to breathe out, send it down through the central column, down into the earth, 2 feet below your feet or into the core of the earth, whatever you're led to. And then breathe it back up, tightening the Mula Bandha, and bring it back up through the central column to the center of your body, or the upper belly and the heart. And then breathe out upward, back up to above your head. So that's the procedure. You breathe from above your head down to the heart belly, hold it there a while, breathe out down into the earth, and then breathe up from the earth back up to the heart belly, hold it there, enjoy it there, feel it there, and then send it back up out. And just be utterly determined to just keep choosing love and consciousness and letting go of judgment. There's a state of neutrality, of the 0 point, that we can be in if we really want to, if we really keep choosing it. And then whatever else arises other than that love and presence, just love it. Just accept it for value. Let it transform let it be unmasked. Any discomfort, any fears, any pains, just let them be unmasked in our area, there's going to be a place in your own body that's going to be focused in. So Buddha said that for every thought, there's always a bodily sensation that corresponds to it. And I found that to be true. Buddha also said, don't believe anything I say. That was a famous quote from Buddha. Don't believe anything you hear from anybody, not even me, unless you can put it through the test of your own experience. That's why I like him. That was one of his great statements. So in this situation, whatever that discomfort is you may be aware of or that you've been dealing with recently, just say, where in my body is that most located? Because your body is the only place that you can actually do anything about it. And then once you're aware of where in your body it is, you can put one hand over that. That's optional, but it often helps wherever that area is. And slightly tighten the muscles in that area of your body. Like, so you're sort of hugging internally the part of your body where there's either the pain or the motion, some discordant emotion or fearful feeling or uncomfortable feeling is. And then breathe through it. Very simple formula. Say, where is it in my body? You tighten that area, hug it, and then put your central column breathing through it. And if it's not if the area of discomfort is not in your central column, you can still breathe through it. If it's in your shoulder, your elbow, or your knee, you can direct your consciousness, like breathe in through that limb. So if you have discomfort, say in your right thigh, you can breathe in from the earth through your right foot, tighten your thigh internally, just tighten all those muscles, and then breathe through that thigh, and then breathe up through the central column, out the top of your head, then down the top of your head, through the central column, and then breathe back out that leg through that thigh while you're tightening the muscles and down to the earth. So no matter what part of your body that focal point is, you can use this practice. I'm aware of a discomfort right now, and I'm working with what I'm saying myself right now. And just know that we are transmuting a huge amount by doing this practice for yourself and for countless other people, because we're all holographically connected. That's one of these things that we often forget. Each one of us is a hologram. That means that within us, the entire universe exists within us. And every point contains every other point. So when we bring consciousness and love and focus to anything in us that where our attention's drawn to, that is helping to be eased or relieved for everybody else. So we're doing a lot of service just by doing this practice. And the place we can go wrong is by judging our experience, by rejecting our experience, by pushing it away, denying it. All those are the kind of things that just keep us spinning around in circles. So that seems to be a lot needed now, is to recognize judgment, denial, fear, pushing away, all those kind of things, and just let go of those and just embrace whatever the experience is and use these simple tools or whatever other tools that you know that work for you. And one truth, which is so awesome, is that you are already a divine enlightened being without any more practices or doing anything or any more spiritual evolution or any of those things that we believe in. Those are all true on a certain level, on the more relative level, that we're evolving and we're growing and we're learning and we're getting more resolved or whatever it is. But on the truest level, we are already who we are. We already are that divine being. And we don't need any improvement on that. We don't need any evolution on that. We don't need to progress any more on that. And we can be in that through our heart. The heart is where we can be in that right now. So receive the transmission of your own truest self. It's here. Sometimes when a transmission of divine energy is coming in, initially, maybe for a few seconds or a few moments, it may feel uncomfortable because it's kind of pushing out blockages we've had and denial. So then we can try to clamp down and not allow that divine transmission to come in. But if you just trust it and just relax into it, then you can start feeling really, really, really good. I know the first time I had a major spiritual initiation was called a soul merge. I was at a conference in Montana. And when it first started coming in, it felt really freaky, like I was really afraid of it. And somebody just conveniently was kind of coaching me and just saying, oh no, Darren, just relax, open up, breathe, let it happen, surrender. And like it just was good. And I was hearing those things. When I finally did it, just some energy rushed through my whole body. And I just felt like very transformed after that. But it felt uncomfortable initially because of my ego self was afraid of it. It couldn't control it. And one of the reasons why I'm saying these things and why I feel they're very important is because so much is coming up right now. So much is coming up from parts of ourselves that we've been out of touch with, both individually and collectively. Like the shadow side. Shadow means where the light is not shining, where it seems to be in the dark. So ultimately everything is God, everything is love, but the shadow is places where we are unconscious of something or denying it or having old pain that we have not loved yet, where we've denied love to those parts of ourself, forgiveness to those parts of ourself. That's the shadow. And so much of what seems to be the shadow is just barreling up out of the depths, and it's very connected with a lot of these fires and floods and climate disturbances. They're not separate. So just like totally relaxing and embracing exactly what our experience is. And we can choose love. I mean, this is something I've had to grapple with over and over with my life. I've had many judgments of myself at times of not having an open heart or not being that loving or compared to all these other people. I've messed myself up with those kind of thoughts over and over many, many times, but I'm just learning. None of that means anything. None of those judgments and evaluations mean anything. It's just we're only in this now moment, and we can choose in this now moment just to lean into it, lean into this experience, and allow love to rule us. And love, as someone said in our last meeting, is totally connected with forgiveness. The total, unconditional, multidimensional forgiveness. There's been many shamanic traditions, like in Mongolia and Africa and many places, where shamans in older times, when somebody was sick and they felt there was some kind of dark entity or dark energy in this person associated with the sickness, they would literally suck it out of that person into their own body. And they had to feel it, because they had arts where they could then take it and dispel it. And so many times shamans would have to feel horrible pain of the people that they're working with, because they would suck the stuff in their own body, and then they do work with the spirit guides and with the spirit animals, and they could send it off. But see, we're not being asked to do that anymore. The light will do all that. But sometimes it still feels that way. It can still feel like we are feeling the pain of many other people and empathetically feeling some of these things and feeling all our own shadow side. So at this time, our ability to embrace this divinity within ourselves is that much greater. So basically, that's my resolution, is any time when I'm drawn to judge myself or deny anything in any way, just to keep choosing love, keep choosing love, keep choosing my pillar of light, my central column breathing, because that's always an option. So you are this divine, enlightened being right now in your heart. Just be there if you want to have that experience. And that 0 point. And we can intend that this love that we are feeling, that this field that we're enjoying now. So each one of our chakras contains part of our spiritual virtue and part of our shadow side. So sometimes it's helpful to remember that. There's the root chakra, first chakra, that it has the virtue of our presence, our groundedness, our kundalini energy, our vitality, the joy of being alive, of being here, of being present. Just like a toddler first learning to walk, there's just like this joy, like I am here, I can express myself, I can do that. So that's our first chakra. Then it has the shadow of the different issues that can be with that, like where we cut off parts of our life flow or feel ungrounded or go into fear, just fear of survival, all these survival fears. So that's the shadow side of the first chakra. Then we have second chakra, where the virtues of it is abundance, deep beautiful emotions and feelings and pleasurable feelings, sexual feelings, financial abundance, the joy of creativity, and expressing yourself, like your soul essence being expressed through your creativity. Then it has a shadow side of shame, of guilt, denial, deep wounding, and trauma. Remember, we're doing our central column breathing. You're embracing all of this. You're coming into neutrality. You're bringing all those, the positive and negative, into this oneness. Then the third chakra, solar plexus, power center. So it's our power. It's our ability to have things go well for us in the world, to reach out, to have other people receive what we have to give, and to be moved and touched by it, and in some cases do business with us because of it, or support us, or in other words, it's the part of you that makes you be noticed in the world and allows you to express who you are. So all the gifts that you have, you can't really share them unless you have a solar plexus chakra. It's your ability to be a strong person, to be assertive. And then as the shadow side of feelings of powerlessness or trying to have power over others. So either one of those polarities. So there's a lot of that going on both sides. And then that can lead to a whole lot of medical issues when the solar plexus chakra is imbalanced. Like things like hypertension and adrenal burnout and digestive problems. And really so many different things like that. And then we have the heart chakra, which is a virtue of love, harmony, like interconnecting all these parts of our multidimensional nature, like unification and being able to truly love and be intimate with other people and with ourselves. And then the shadow side would be things like pride and so many, just about all our mental illnesses like anxiety and depression, bipolar, and just an endless amount of conditions when we're in the shadow side of the heart. And then you have the throat chakra. And so the virtue of that is, again, a part of your creativity, that by speaking, by the power of sound, you can express your highest good, your creativity, and you can create things in the world through your voice, through speaking, through communicating. You can have really meaningful, satisfying communications, express yourself in many, many ways. And the shadow side would be a suppression of that. Fear of fully expressing who you are. And so many people who have thyroid issues, there's an issue with that chakra. That's why so many people are on Synthroid and so on, because in some way they're not really owning the full power of that fifth chakra. Then we have the center of our head and the brow, sixth chakra, and the virtue of that is insight, seeing the bigger picture, wisdom, intelligence, visionary abilities, being artistic in many ways. And then we have the shadow side of illusion, deception, polarization, paranoia, and schizophrenia, so many different things, depending on being on the spectrum in so many different ways. And then we have the crown, and of course the virtue of that is your connection to your true divine self and being able to receive your pillar of light. And then there's the shadow side of that, which would just be a denial, like people that say, people that are in judgment of, spirituality is woo-woo, and are just feeling isolated or depressed because they feel like cut off from source. So there's all these chakras have the virtue part, and then they have a shadow part. So when you do the central column breathing, it's such an ultimately healing practice because you're basically embracing all of that. You're not pushing away the shadow and trying to accentuate the positive. You're just embracing everything because it's all God. It's all part of the faces of God. Now would be a great time to offer this presence to all the people that are going through what they're going through in our areas. And we do have the power to work with the elements, especially when we come together in a group like this. So just visualize or see, or whatever way you're led to, coolness, rain. I heard the forecast that there's supposed to be rain early next week, but that could change at any time, like it often has. The wind has died down since yesterday, so it's the firefighter's job's a little bit easier. So does anybody have any prayers that you'd like to offer to speak in this group? You're most welcome to do so. I'm invoking this field of divine universal forgiveness. It's an aspect of God, an aspect of divine. It's one of the ways the divine manifests. This absolution, this amnesty, this forgiveness. Just extending that field all through these areas where there's fires and floods and storms, dis-ease, and through myself. Violet flame of forgiveness. And the crystalline pearlescent light I just feel that going out now. Just call your full God presence to this moment. You don't have, your mind doesn't have to know how, it doesn't have to even believe in it. Just do it anyway. If it's possible to do that anyway right now. Because your God power is so mighty and so beautiful. I feel for myself I can only do it when I'm really grounded in my body. If I'm in my mind trying to do prayers and invocations and so on, it feels like it just spins out. But it's being grounded in the body, just really feeling the presence in my body. There's the subject-object practice where you just pull all your energy back into your body. That might be out trying to accomplish anything or wondering about anybody or anything. Just be in your own body, and then from that place, you can extend that field of forgiveness and of grace. And ask the divine to allow the fire to do its transformative work on the spiritual level, on the level of our consciousness, on however it's needed, and in any way possible reduce the destruction and the damage and the loss to people and animals, plants, and the earth.